so they can watch it and report on it. So, and other people just want to see it later. Board members were not told they can't come. They were welcome to come, but if too many show up, then we run into a Brown Act issues. So that's why the board members are not necessarily here, but they also wanted this meeting to be recorded so they can watch it. But I plan on taking everything we learned today and bringing it back to the board. We're here because I got direction from the board. When we were doing rates and fees this year and voting on the new rates based on the cost of living allowance, we got feedback from a few fishermen and others that it was hitting with the slow crab season and with no salmon season, a raise in the slip fees would hit you pretty hard. And there was a request to lower the increase in slip fees this year and not go up to the cost of living. And the board heard that and listened to you, and instead of doing cost of living, we did 2.8, right?
That's correct, yes.
Instead of the 5.6. But the board also, after the vote was taken on that, directed me to get more information and come back to the board with a plan on how we can support the fishing fleet at Pillar Point Harbor. I personally have a very strong feeling about what the fishing fleet brings to the harbor. You bring the character of what the harbor is. A lot of the people who come down to the harbor want to come see the fishing boats, not necessarily the private boats. They want to buy fish off your boats. They want to see fish offloaded, crabs offloaded, and just the workings of a fishing harbor. So the boats add a lot of character to the harbor, and we get a lot of benefit from that character. And I don't want to lose that character. On the other hand, I still have to maintain docks, slips, and everything else. We are pushing real hard, especially with Commissioner Matush's leadership on locating different funding options for providing brand new floating docks at Pillar Point, all of them. And then also, or all of them on Johnson Pier, and then also extending Johnson Pier and expanding Johnson Pier. And that's gonna be about 37 million, which the harbor can't fund it, the harbor district can't fund it. I have to get money from somewhere else. So we're working towards that, so that money wouldn't come out of your pockets necessarily as boaters. I'm not trying to raise that money through the fees that we charge here. So right now, we give fishing vessels a 15% discount for their slips. And that's resulted, for this month, for example, if we charge full price for those slips, we'd get $4,300 more into our accounts. So we're writing off $4,300 a month right now for Pillar Point Harbor for that 15%. Not a lot of money, but it's still, we write that off. And pretty much that's what we do for giving a benefit back to the fishing vessels of lower slip fees. So this year it was the lower slip fee between 5.6%. We lowered it down to 2.3, and then also we continued with the 15% off your slip fee because you're a commercial fishing vessel. A few years ago, we stopped, if you pay all 1 year in advance, you get 1 month free. But that was a significant amount of money for the district. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars versus 1 month rent for each one of you. So we just couldn't afford to continue to provide for that. I'm aware of one harbor right now that the slip fees for fishermen is 0, as long as you can show landing tickets that you've landed fish. But the money, the harbor's still getting money for your slip fees. The fishermen aren't paying it because somebody donated $100,000 to the Fishermen's Association in that harbor. And that $100 is paying the slip fees. Once that $100,000 is gone, then the captains will have to pay the slip fees again. Am I right on that, Chris?
That's correct.
So we went up and down the coastline because I heard all kinds of stories and rumors that other ports were giving discounts to the fishermen this year because of the seasons. But up and down the coast, the only harbor that I can find, and somebody else can correct me, but only harbor I found was the one harbor who's getting paid through that $100,000 donation versus having the fishermen pay. So they're paying full price for their slips, just somebody else is paying it for them right now. And whoever that donor was, I don't know. So today, we also have the commercial activity permits for off-the-boat sales. Kind of evens the playing field a little bit for the fish buyers and the off-boat sales. Also helps us fund the improvements we need to make and the safety improvements we need to make for the people that come into this harbor to buy off-the-boat sales. And the program right now is working very well. We're going to increase our awareness on the docks with the harbor masters on making sure everybody who's selling the fish has those permits. So we'll be checking on the vessels on a regular basis, and the harbor masters will get to know who has what fairly quickly. To protect Pillar Point fishermen, the district was asked to kind of limit the sale of off the boats to Pillar Point boats only, and we did that to increase the sales from your boats, and instead of visiting vessels coming into the harbor. And before we're going to, I see Captain Smitty up there. Captain Smitty, can you hear us clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. I should have done that earlier. I apologize. So today we're looking at coming from your side or from the boats. What can the district do to help you as a harbor and to help you survive during these times? Or any recommendations that we're open to anything? Any suggestion we'll consider. You know, some might be ridiculous, some may not be ridiculous. But the board will consider everything that you present or you ask for today, or after this meeting, you think of something that you send to me for consideration. I'll definitely write it up and put it in my report to the board. So with that, does anybody want to start?
Don't see a button here for.
Captain Smitty.
Okay, good evening. Go ahead.
Can hear you.
Okay, so good evening to the participants in the meeting here, and unfortunately, one commissioner here, which I find it being a big travesty for this meeting. That there's no commissioners other than Mateusz there. And I thank you, Tom, for showing up for this meeting. At least somebody has the balls to show up. I would first off like to say that with the catastrophe that we're facing this year, I know there are many boats in the harbor that are looking at over 50 to 70% of their income gone because of the salmon fishery. This is a huge hit for us, absolutely huge hit. And this is so I'm frustrated with this in that our berth rent is being raised at all with the catastrophe that's been going on. And I look around the harbor as an example. I was in the harbor last week on Thursday, and I was standing on the dock with Rowdy Steve. We were the only two people at 1:30 p.m. We were the only two people on the whole pier. As I walked down the pier and I walked past the parking lot, I was the only person there. This is the business in this harbor is just absolutely crashing and burning here. And a lot of it is, I know, is because of the salmon season that's been closed on us. So, and also the issue with what's been going on with the restaurant here. I won't go into that. But money that's being spent in the harbor right now, and in regards to the repaving of the upper parking lots, that's money that could be used to help the commercial fishermen in the harbor. This is a project that costs a lot of money that didn't need to be done right now, especially during this difficult year. That money could have been applied to operating expenses. I for one would want to see the harbor to not raise our fees, period. I would rather see the harbor give us a cut in our fees because of the amount of devastation that we're facing with the loss of the salmon season and the loss of our rock fishing season. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but we have lost the first couple months of our season fishing in the near shore, and this has caused another big financial hit for us as well. So my take on this is that I would like to see not a rent raise, but a rent reduction for this because of these catastrophic losses we've seen. The other option for this, in lieu of possibly lowering our rent, would be to remove our passenger ticket fees for the remainder of 2023. At least for the CPVs, that would help us. That's not going to help the commercial vessels that sell fish or are fishing, but that would be a direct help for the CPVs in the harbor. And I believe my constituents would also be in favor of that as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Don?
Did you call me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Don. Go ahead.
So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I don't always agree with Captain Smitty, but I would agree that the last few times that I've been down to the harbor, both of those times were times where the weather was good, and I would assume that there would be boats fishing, getting ready for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend market. And I'm telling you, he's not lying. It was like tumbleweeds out there. All right. There's nobody coming down there. And I can't stress enough to the harbor. This really, really is important. The interconnectivity of all of the businesses. Okay. That restaurant, a lot of people would come down there and they would buy fish from us and then go have Albert fillet it. Okay. And then they'd go sit down and have a Bloody Mary and an omelet. And now they all can't do that. And there's a reason why we're not seeing the foot traffic for the off the boat sales. Part of it's become diluted for a variety of reasons, and they've tried to put a chokehold on it, but at the same time, it's more heavily regulated and we're not seeing the traffic. And the businesses like the Catch shutting down is a major, major hit to not just the people that dine there, but for the interconnectivity to all of the fish businesses. And I think that, you know, CPVs and commercial fishing vessels have a pretty rough go ahead of them. We saw the prices for crab that were from pre-1996. I don't want to remind everybody, it's 2023. We're talking about all of us just fished for the prices for before 1996. On top of that, we're seeing no salmon seasons. You know, Captain Smitty, amongst everybody that I know, you know, what's going on for the most part when you're salmon fishing. I can remember seeing a lot of his posts at the end of the day, limits of salmon, going down to south and we're going to go fish salmon and big fish, nice fish. Those posts bring customers that come down to his boat. Some of those customers buy things at the bait shop. Those customers don't come down. The bait shop doesn't stay open. When they can't get a cup of coffee somewhere, they don't come down there. It's a variety of issues that are attacking the harbor, but a lot of it has to do with not having the opportunity to access these fish for everybody involved. And I would agree that we need to see a cut in our slip fees. Now, James, we had talked prior that the one place that I referenced that gives a discount and still does. Now, I don't know if they have a grant on top of that, but in San Francisco, if you're a commercial fishing vessel and you can show landings, there are areas in the harbor that they want right along Pier 45 where they give those guys discounts. Those discounts can be something like $80 a month. That's what I've paid in the past. I have slip fee, paperwork that'll show. You can still get a slip there to this day for a discounted rate. I don't know if it's still $80, but it's something very, very cheap. And something like that would be something that I would root for, a discount to the fishermen. And frankly, anybody selling off the boat, it should be a flat rate and take away the 2%. I mean, you're diluting an already diluted market that's becoming even more diluted with no restaurant. And so I can't drum that in enough that let's not fight on this one with the CPVs and the recreational and leisure boats. Everybody's suffering here, not being able to do whatever it is that they need to do. I think we need to band together and figure out how we're going to collectively, get some of that money back and get some discounts. And I appreciate you guys giving me the time. Thank you.
Just one question. You said $80 discount. Are you saying you get the slip for $80 or it's an $80 off?
Okay, so just to be completely 100% fair, when I first started fishing about 15 years ago, on and off for the first 8 or 9 years of my career, when I would go to San Francisco, but I do know it still exists, they would give me a slip in a certain part of the harbor that's like the background for all the James Bond movies that used to be, right there where all the little double enders are on the frontage. If you wanted to tie up there, it was either $80 or $88. It was one of the two. I know that it's still something like that, and they still offer it to this day.
Gotcha.
Jim,
Yeah.
Kristen from the chamber wants to talk next. Crystal,
Okay, go ahead and call.
Chamber. Go ahead. You should be able to talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. First and foremost, I wanted to say how much I appreciate you guys having this conversation with the people who are going to be affected by this decision. A lot of government agencies just kind of push forward with big decisions like these, and go with what's best for their budget and don't really take into consideration who it affects. So very much appreciate this. Also, I would like to note what a wonderful showing. I wish all business segments would show up to meetings like this. So thank you for everybody who's on this. I just kind of wanted to echo what Captain Smitty and Don had mentioned about going down to the docks and that, at certain times being crickets when normally we would have a lot of visitors. So the lodging reports are starting to come in and they are exceptionally low. They are like pandemic levels low because of the storms and because of the bad weather. So we are at, we're hanging out at like maybe 40 to 50% of the normal visitors that we would have at this time. And so many of them would go to the harbor. So that is falls directly in line with what's being said about the lack of sales. And then all of the other effects of the restaurant closure and all of that. I just wanted to echo that that's also being felt throughout the rest of the coast side. So all businesses low. There are at least 3 businesses on Main Street that are looking to potentially close if this summer doesn't pick up. So the economic effects are being felt far and wide on the coast side. So I could only imagine how much worse that is for the fishermen because you guys seem to get hit harder than most. And then lastly, I just wanted to note that all things are pointing towards a recession. And so whatever decision is made here now, and hopefully it's one that everybody is happy with or can live with, just know that this is potentially the beginning of a recession and things getting even a little bit worse and tighter. We just want to take into account that the businesses are just going to continue to get hit like they did in the pandemic if things continue going the way they go. Thank you.
Jim, Doug Lawton wants to talk next. Go ahead, Doug. You should be able to talk.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, hi, thanks for having me and thanks for holding this meeting. I just wanted to get my voice in as far as a recreational boater at Pillar Point Harbor. Um, we are, those of us at least over on the commercial side, not the A, B, and C docks, but the other docks, we're definitely a part of the fabric of that harbor. And, we spend the time engaging with tourists, engaging with people, explaining how fishing works and what they can buy and where they can buy it and why we can't sell it and various things. So I just don't want to be forgotten that we are part of the fabric of the harbor. We should be treated basically the same as all of the boaters, all the berthers at the harbor. If there's going to be some relief to these escalating berthing fees, like Smitty said, I mentioned to you the last meeting that we don't have a salmon season this year, and perhaps next year. Our offshore rock fishing was pushed way out for the first part of our season. A lot of the recreational boaters in there can't afford the fuel to get out that far. So we're hurting too financially. We won't see any disaster relief. And I just want to make sure that the commission stays fair to all berthers at the harbor. I think they have a responsibility spending taxpayer money to be fair and equal to all berthers. And personally, I want to be able to afford to stay in Pillar Point Harbor, but as things get more expensive, you have to maybe take a look at something else. And I love the harbor. I hope it bounces back, and I want to be part of it when it is back. So please consider recreational berthers in just the same world of hurt as everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Marfia, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Did I do this right? Can we hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So my name is John Marfia. I have a six-pack out of Pillar Point Harbor, Tanker City Sport Fishing. Somewhat new to the charter business, even though I've been around, fishing my whole life, but recently was able to operate out of that harbor out of Pillar Point during COVID, so 2020. And just to kind of piggyback on what Captain Smitty was saying in regards just to salmon season and how it's affected, not only myself, but all the businesses, not only in the harbor, but just everywhere. It's been catastrophic. It's been about 70%, of my business at least. And that's kind of what we're known for. Along with all the other issues we've been having to deal with, just with the cost of everything going through the roof, from fuel to bait to ice to equipment to insurance, the list goes on. And the one thing where I can honestly say is, talking to our clients and taking trying to utilize the option to go to Oyster Point and run halibut trips out of that, is that you get to a certain point where you can only charge so much, per person to actually get them to come out where it makes sense and you're making a living and being able to pay your bills. And once you kind of reach that threshold, it just gets to a point where people don't want to do it, or they find another means where maybe they utilize, other private boaters out there, or whatever the case may be. And the concern that I just have personally, along for the businesses and the commercial guys there as well, is that we can only increase our prices so much, and it's difficult to make a living when everywhere that we look, we're getting basically a price increase. And if there could be a way to help us, especially during this time, it's been tough. The rockfish has been closed. We have some bluefin tuna that have showed up, but that's not really sustainable. That's based off of weather and other conditions. It's been a challenge, along with also, as we see in the market itself, just in business and in the economy. And just another price increase is just going to cause us to have to make some adjustments, raise our prices, and then, potentially just lose more business because, like I said, it just gets to a point where it's not worth it for people to be able to enjoy, the fruits of the sea, so to speak, and it kind of prices us out. So if there is any option to have a price reduction or at least postpone this for another time until things kind of get back on track, hopefully, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Where do you go to Captain Smitty? Or no, sorry, Captain Smitty. You. Apologize.
All right. I'm you. Barry. I'll just remark with my learner.
There's a microphone at the podium that might help.
Yeah, if you stand at the podium, the microphone will pick you up.
Is that it? You got me? Yeah.
They got you.
Okay. Hey, fellas. I'll just come back a bit. At Don, my learned friend there, one, the disaster, but two, number one, that boat is my job. End of story. That's my work, it's my employment, it pays for all this. But the second part is the disaster, like it's a throwaway thing. Currently, where I'm at with that is there is no disaster formally going through at the moment. I spoke with Katrina in Sacramento yesterday. What they are putting forward is SBC loans. You only need one from each county to go through. And this is probably relative to our losing our congressman now, but there isn't one forward on the table at the moment from San Mateo. So what would be a disaster is if California gets a disaster relief, but San Mateo County and Half Moon Bay don't because we haven't put something forward. We only need one slip to go forward. I've got one I can give you. I emailed her today for a contact in San Mateo County, but she hasn't come back at me. Tomorrow apparently is the deadline, but talking with her yesterday, they're going to go with the paperwork till next Friday to get it sorted. So if that lady was Chamber of Commerce or whatever, I think it's handy to put this on the table as a bit of urgency to make sure San Mateo's on the table in Sacramento. And that one being said, yeah, I'm agreeing with the other fishermen here because that's my income for salmon. Zippo, nothing, not a cent. All right, and we know how crab works. It's if that crab industry's closed up for us. So we mightn't be kicking on till January again. We got lucky this year. And remember, we got to do concessions, for the optics. We could be running 25% of the gear. We don't know. But that's rubbish we got to put on the table for the optics. So I'd like some optics coming back at us. Thanks. And another point, Jim, sir, with all this grand plan, the only thing I have seen, and this is before your time, from the office, once you enter that dock, and I've been here well over a decade, the only thing I've seen there is a set of handrails, nothing else. And we got a dead restaurant, not producing. You're hearing the guys here, I know. I've got clients, I've got to wait because they're having a meal at the catch and I'm hanging, all that's gone. All right, so it is a ghost town at the moment with the fishing, etc. there. And we're going to have to drag it back up. But I don't know, I'd put the cart before the horse regular, but you might have the cart before the horse there a bit with that building. I hope the toilets for $800,000, sir, will not be pulled down for a 2-story building.
They will not be.
They will be part of the
Be
fabric.
part of the new building.
Okay, all right, I'll shut
Most
up.
definitely, they will be part of the new building.
All right, but I think,
Waste that money.
I think we should have some priorities. You'll say now there's a super grand plan. Is there 37 million for the docks?
That's gonna wait until I can find that money, which we're working on.
Could be further, Jim. All right. Okay, I'll shut up and.
So I've heard from half a dozen, I'm not cutting off the conversation, but I hear what you're saying, the salmon season's gone. I know the rockfish has been a problem. The restaurants being closed is another significant problem. Like you, when I go down to harbor, it's sickening because it's so dead. And that has a lot to do with that interlocking between what's our floating stock in the boats and the restaurants on shore. People aren't coming because they're not there anymore. We're working hard on that. The board just yesterday approved the assignment of those leases to another restaurant group, and they'll be starting shortly on renovating those spaces. Their goal right now is, I think, is opening the first week of October. That being said, I'm hearing reduction in price. Price increase results in an increase in tickets, which results in passengers not willing to spend that much money and not coming. Everybody says no salmon, no rockfish, no income until crab season. Captain Smitty asked for a reduction in, or elimination or suspension of passenger service fees for the commercial passenger vessels. But knowing the issues, everybody, I think, in here knows the issues of no salmon season, no money. What can we do about it? Got all kinds of hands.
You know, I think one of the options to consider too, and I don't know if it's feasible in do it here. I've got 2 boats, my son has 1, 2 of those boats are trawlers, so there's no income, and I'm paying slip fees, and it's quite expensive to have boats. But one of the things to consider is if there is relief money, if there is buried, that maybe, you know, not have payments, defer payments until we receive relief money. Because right now it's just a huge drain.
I'd like to say something. I heard Barry, but I'm sorry, I don't know if everybody's clear on that we've lost our market for Thanksgiving with crab, and that's been a huge loss. We're going to work on Christmas Day and New Year's Day and in the middle of storms and crazy. Just seems like it's getting worse and worse. But when we used to not have salmon, we could fish till June 30th. And that has to do with migrations of whale, not just what we don't want to talk about, but they're going home to migrate down south later. They're coming back sooner. And they had a baby here in the Monterey Bay this last year.
Right.
So there's a lot of changes going on. And, you know, I've been through disasters with salmon shut down, and we're getting relief 4 years after the disaster. And those of us with long line that have hook and line, we can't even fish pots that are more effective. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with that as well. I think you all know that, but I didn't realize there was a shutdown in the near shore. But yeah, we haven't had any cash coming in since April, and we didn't have any coming in last fall. And there's long, long stretches in between. I employ an entire family, 2 families on one boat, and we have all of our lives invested in this. And you know, it's nice you have extra time. We got to go camping and grow a little garden, but you know, fingers crossed, things don't get worse. It was real hard to get this email to come to this meeting, and the next thing I know, I get a bill that's more than what I had expected. That was really hard. I wanted to let you know that, although it was really little, and I see that it was 2.8%, lower than usual, 3 or 4%. So, but I think you guys also hurt too, because there's no revenue coming in over the docks for selling fish. So I don't know if you can apply for disaster. I thought that was great information. And Smitty couldn't hear you.
Oh.
So if anybody wants to talk, come on up here, because you guys are kind of out of the hearing and vision plan, but that's about it.
Tim Dooley, I just said earlier that one possibility is to potentially consider just deferring payments, which I know is probably hard on you as well, but until the relief money, hopefully there's relief money that comes in, would be a nice option, because right now there's no revenue or income coming in. Thank you.
Frank, do you still want to talk?
I can. I mean, everybody's actually covered everything. And
Okay.
after Jim was going over what everybody said, it's just basically going to reiterate what everybody said. Everybody's really just, it's just a bad mood, I think, going on already. And then this came up. It's not really the right time for it because everybody's already just trying to struggle and make it happen. But yeah, in commercial fishermen, we can't exactly just raise our prices because it's done on a market price. And with the way the economy's going, like Don said, we're fishing for prices from far in the past. And yeah, just I think you guys got the gist of what everybody's feeling here. And it's definitely not easy times for anybody. Thank you.
Mr.
Can I make
Perry.
a comment?
One moment, we have a speaker before you.
I'm not going to repeat anything that's been said. I agree with it. I fish out of the harbor. I've been there for many, many years. I have 2 commercial boats. We might be saving a 2% increase, but right now my income is so low that I'm not going to even qualify for the commercial discount that I've been getting. So I would hope that possibly you might reconsider what it takes to get the commercial discount. I've qualified in the past, but this year I chose not to crab fish because the season looked too bad. I put all my eggs in the basket of salmon fishing, and there's no salmon season. So I'm looking at, my boat hasn't moved in probably 6 months, and the bills are continuing. So I would hope that you guys would look at what it takes to qualify as a commercial fisherman that can't get a fish.
Okay,
So
that's a good idea. Thanks.
I think Don was next.
Don?
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute. So I just wanted to say that some of the verbiage that Frank brought up about appropriate timing, I couldn't agree more with that comment in that, when there's a lot on the table, maybe it's a little more possible to absorb a price hike. I also wanted to just make a comment that I can make from a personal perspective. When we had the domoic acid crab disaster, I had bought a new boat and had taken it to the haul out and spent like $35,000 or $40,000 to make it into a crabbing boat. Essentially was fully extended all the way in financially. My children were much younger, and I would say that financially I wasn't quite as well off as I am now. That being said, still struggling. But when we talk about disaster relief, I want to be very clear that there was a lot of talk about how much money we were going to get, and I was going to lose everything, including my house. And so I took an SBA loan for $72,000, which I eventually paid back. But 4 years later, they gave me $24,000. So when we talk about disaster relief and how it's for sure and how you're going to get it and how guys are going to have money for this or that, I want to be clear that there was nothing but sadness behind that for me and many other people that took SBA loans to make sure that they could weather that storm just so that we could get to this conversation today. And I just wanted to say that story because when we talk about the disaster and possibly getting relief, I mean, that's what it is. It's possibly getting relief. The only thing we can believe in is that we either need to catch fish and put it across the dock or catch crab and put it across the dock, which none of us can do. So talking about this figment of an imagination that's all it is. So whatever we do, it should be based off that we don't know if anything's coming. And I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you for my time.
Melanie?
Lisa, I think raised her hand. Lisa, go ahead. You should be able to talk.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. I just wanted to just mention one other component for the Harbor Commission to consider. And, you know, I think these guys are giving you a lot of great information, and this is all the reality that our industry is facing. But, you know, I think the question to this Harbor District is also, you know, what's the messaging being sent? I mean, I know we say that commercial fishing is the fabric of the harbor, but, you know, when there are other harbors, and I do know of some others that have been working with their fleets to reduce rates or to stop increases or to defer payments. And the messaging here is, well, we're going to raise your rates. We're just trying to figure out how much. And it just feels a little out of touch with the reality of such a big constituent base, such a big, important historical part of this harbor. And I just think it's a unfortunate message to send out that I know the harbor needs money, but to do it in this way, I think it's problematic messaging. And that's something that should be also considered when making these decisions. It's not just dollars and cents. There's more that goes into it. So that's all I wanted to put out there. If you need more information from any of the other ports, I know some ports have looked at things like using the derelict vessel funds, and, you know, that has been able to be transferred over to helping out with birth rates. I know that's what they did in Bodega Bay. So there may be some other creative ways that the Harbor District can work within their line items in their budget to make up for some of the losses of not taking the increase. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Go ahead, Dano. Oh, we can't hear you.
All right, how about now? You give me now?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the point that, you know, that I heard when you opened the meeting, that commercial fishermen are an integral part of Pillar Point Harbor. I've been here 10 years now. And I feel like, you know, you guys have to know that we need a lifeline. Like it's as bad as it could ever be for most of us. I personally haven't seen a dime of income since stacking out on a poor crab year in April, first week of April. And so I just know that if we ever needed a lifeline to keep us going so that we can continue to be part of the fabric of the community, it's right now. And we had so many other hits prior to this even happening. It's been just a slow drag to the cliff face for most of us. So we're hopeful that we can weather it. I appreciate Pillar Point Harbor and what's offered to me there. You know, we tried not to balk too hard at the, you know, the taxation of our dock sales, and I believe most of us have tried to kick you guys some of the whatever little bit we're doing. So getting a little bit of that back now, at the very least, some deferred payment until we're able to make money again would help us stay alive. And that's all I got. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Smitty.
Yes, I have a general question for the, this would be for the harbor. Is there been any talk in regards to there being a federal disaster relief for the salmon industry on a federal level or a state level that would be directed towards the harbor? Has there been any movements on any of that?
We believe there's a request out there, but we have no idea what the status is of that request or who made it.
Can I make a comment on that?
Jim Anderson?
Hello?
Go ahead.
I had a conversation today about this, and it sounds like they're in the last stages of trying to compile data of how much of a loss we're looking at. Especially right now, they're looking at the local businesses in the community and stuff. So this is truly the time that the harbor, either through the county or the state, should be getting onto the list and trying to find out what kind of a losses that they're looking at before they can ask for the amount of money if they don't know what they're actually looking for. After they find out how much money they're looking for and they apply for that, then they will begin to build a spending plan on who and how to disperse the money out to the people. But that seems like to be where it is now. And I agree with Barry that it's really important to try to get on that process now to at least, I imagine there's a lot of ways that the county could be looking for revenue from losses from slip fees and everything else, and give a lot of relief to the fishermen if they were able to get compensated through their aspect. So I would hope they would try to do some kind of work doing that. And it's both for the winter storms and it's all for the salmon relief. I heard today the person for the commercial guys is David Goldenberg. I don't know who the county would be contacting, but if David's running the program for the commercial guys, then he would probably be able to contact you guys or the harbor or the county and whoever they need to contact to get on the list also. Thank you very much.
Jim, if you could forward that contact information to us, it'd be appreciated.
Who do I forward it to? Tom and Tooze?
You can, if you have Tom's email, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, April 6th, the Newsom administration requested federal fishery disaster ahead of salmon season closure. So today, Governor Gavin Newsom and Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis announced a request for federal fishery disaster declaration to support the salmon fishing industry as it faces a closure for the 2023 salmon season. This action follows projections that indicate California's Chinook salmon abundance is at historic lows. I won't go into the rest of it, but at least people are trying.
Other hands, Mel? Nope. So I go back to the question I asked before. What would you like to, I hear discounts or reverse slip fees or keep them the same. Does that help? Or do you need a 10% reduction? What would be meaningful or make a difference for you for the district to do?
Or if it went back 10%, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, if you could stand up.
I just said any little bit would help. If you kept it the same, or even better, if you could reduce it by 10%, or it'd be nice to go to 50% because we're not making anything, but whatever you can do to help us, that would be wonderful.
Anything else that we can do for you? What's the impact of the ice house right now in your business?
Yeah. Ice is sort of relative to fresh fish.
I agree with that.
Okay. No ice, no fresh fish.
But if fish were running, or if it was crab season and having no ice house.
Let's stop the ifs. Just the reality, there's big bluefin tuna out there at the moment. Okay, that's fish and ground fish are getting a bit closer. So if I want to struggle away and go get a bluefin, I bring it in, I can't deal with it. All right, I can't keep it fresh. I can't take ice out there. So, and talking with Chris yesterday, some ideas, which I mentioned earlier there about some of those modern ice machines, because honestly, that thing come with Fred Flintstone, I think. She's done her time. It might pay to get a modern one that can serve as recreational guys, pop a bit of ice in their little chillers and off they go. You know, we get with it. That's me thoughts on ice. Yeah.
If I may. So the ice machine being down is an issue, and you can just imagine what it would be like if salmon was open. You know, you're trying to, fill your totes with ice and it's not available. So for me personally, I'm getting my ice in San Francisco at 3 times the price. And then the inconvenience of having to go in there and load and move 500-600 pounds of ice. But with respect to helping the fishermen, I think what you might think of is a program on an as-needed basis. So the recreational boaters probably don't need bailout help. Not all fishermen are crab and salmon fishermen. So the guys that have had 0 income in 6 months or 9 months are most in need, and perhaps on an as-needed basis, you can help them out. So, you know, help the guys that need it, and the rest of them, if they're not screaming or dying as much, don't get the bailout, so to speak. So think of maybe a way on an application or maybe landing receipt basis, something that's comprehensive that you can give help where needed, and then everything else, you know, cruises. But also, no, I think this could be like a universal gripe session where we're all complaining about something. I mean, I have empathy for the district because you don't control the closure of salmon. You don't control domoic acid. You have nothing to do with whales in November. You know, there's a lot of factors. You have nothing to do with the ice machine going down for, I'm hearing, 3 months, and nothing to do with inflation. So I'm sympathetic to that. And you obviously can be sympathetic to the commercial fishermen, who I think is the true endangered species in the Pacific Ocean. You know, look, go to Dock Street Brokers and look how many boats are for sale. They're just not taken anymore because guys, you know, they're just everyone's trying to get out. But I think perhaps on an as-needed basis, if you could help out the guys most in need, that would go a long way.
Sure.
Completely disagree. And I think that the ice machine being out and having a terrible ice machine replacement in Santa Cruz kind of made that harbor no longer a fishing port for many years, besides dredging problems. But the ice machine is key to keeping fishermen in business. And that's just bottom line. That's David Goldenberg's phone number.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't know it was out of order either. So that's really disappointing. Do you guys have any, is there a reason why it's not being repaired? Is it completely out of commission and needs to be replaced?
For parts, right now, the repair costs are estimated to be $275,000. The ice machine is controlled by one of our lessees.
And also, I would recommend contacting Santa Cruz Harbor and get the history on what they did that you should never do, because they put a lot of money into one that just never worked out, and they kept adding little things to try to make it work, and it never worked. So
What harbor was that?
Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it would help, but I think that perhaps the Harbor District and the Chamber of Commerce could send a letter to, for instance, the Department of Fish and Game, and reiterate how critical the crab season is, because I know we're all recreational, commercial, CPFP, everybody's hamstrung by that. But I think perhaps some well-written letters to the department to remind them what a hardship this is would be something we could do for you.
Can I make a comment? When Santa Cruz got the disaster money and started the project and changed their ice machine, I also tried to get Keith to get money through the disaster plan to change the ice machine in Half Moon Bay. But it sounds like that not enough money was given to them. Keith decided not to do it, and Santa Cruz, I guess, didn't get enough money to get the right machine to make it work properly. But that seemed to be the project. That's the same kind of thing that in this program here is, if you can explain, you know, the need for the money, this is the time to try to explain the need for the money for these projects. Thank you.
I think he's referring to maybe the ice machine problem started 20 years ago, and we purchased one that was just a lemon for a harbor.
I would like to make a comment if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Captain Dwayne with Much Better Fishing. I mean, I've been listening into what everybody's saying and I concur with everything that's being said. My season has been a disaster. I've done a total of 9 charters all year. And typically with salmon, I'm doing 5, 6 a week and sometimes 25, 30 days in a row. So I can't tell you what a disaster it's been. The insurance has gone up, fuel costs has gone up. The harbor's dying. We've lost our restaurant. We don't have an ice machine anymore. We don't have anything to draw people there. And with rock cod being 300 feet or more, thank God that's about to be over. People don't want to take a 2-hour boat ride to get to where they can fish, and they don't want to crank 300 feet. So the whole season's been a disaster. I mean, I can't speak for the commercial guys. I feel for them, but I'm a charter boat captain and we're being affected drastically. And passenger fees for the few passengers we have, it just seems like the harbor's dying and we're being charged more to try to keep it afloat. And it's not our fault. We're doing everything we can to survive ourselves. I'm working in a machine shop part-time. I can't make ends meet. I can't pay my bills. And to think about raising fees, to me, that's just absurd. That's just sticking a knife on our back. So I don't know what can be done. I'd appreciate anything that could be done for any kind of break to get us through this season. Until salmon's going, at least that's 85, 90% of my business. And it has been a total disaster. And I think I speak on behalf of a lot of the charter boats that we're all going through the same thing. And I can't even understand how these commercial guys can continue to exist if they're not working a second job or doing something to try to make ends meet, because expenses are sky high, inflation is sky high, everything's going up. But our incomes are zero. We're just shut down to nothing. So I appreciate anything you can do for us. I mean, I hope I'm not out of line asking for this, but man, we got to bring our harbor back. I've been fishing out of this harbor since 1980, and not as a charter boat, but as a sport boat. And I've been fishing out of this harbor as a charter boat since 2011. And all I've seen is everything going downhill. I mean, even maintenance of the docks and everything, things are falling apart, and yet we're being charged more. I mean, we used to have security cameras. We don't have that anymore. It just seems like we're losing more and more services and paying more for it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Captain. Any other hands raised, Mel?
Nope.
Any other comments from the group? You want to say anything?
I want to just thank everybody for showing up. It's tough to sit here and listen to these stories and understand where you're coming from. It's real difficult, and the Harbor District's going to work. You know, personally, I'm one of those that wants to talk to the electeds and saying, this is what we need for our area. I've been back to Washington, D.C., not at the Harbor District expense, but my own. I was asking for $150 million. A number of people will be able to tell you that I've been knocking on doors, trying to get things improved for the Harbor District. But as General Manager Pruitt pointed out, I've been talking to a lot of people, and all we can do is keep knocking on doors, and we're going to knock on doors on your behalf as well.
To summarize what I heard from all of you today, there was a general theme throughout the whole evening about no income, zero income, and needing relief. Raising the rates and getting your new bill this month was like a knife in your back. The harbor dying, we're definitely working hard to bring that back as fast as we can, especially on Restaurant Row. I will be presenting it to the board probably August or September. It'll go in front of the board. And it'll be on the agenda, it'll be public. And I encourage everybody who's attended tonight to attend that meeting also. And our report will be public. I will send it out Friday night before the next meeting, the next Wednesday. You can review it, and I can always be corrected. And if you have any further comments that you may not want to say out loud right now, but you want to share with me or the district, please send an email to me. Everything you guys send to me will be considered and presented to the board. And the board will then direct me on which direction the district will go. We do have bills at the district. Inflation's also hit us hard with our water bill going up, our electric bill going up, our trash bill going up. Everything's gone up for us also, and we're paying those bills. The price of doing anything construction-wise is going through the roof for us. Our electrical upgrade for the Char Johnson Pier, because we have to do it, I think is estimated right now for $1.5 million, which we're gonna fund because we have to. The electrical conduit's crushed in some areas where if we don't get it fixed, it's gonna be a problem. So we have to do that. We were gonna spend our district funding on design, engineering, permitting, and construction of the launch ramp, replacing the launch ramp, replacing the floating docks, replacing the restroom out there, replacing the boat wash station because of the bacteria level in the harbor. We have to do that to meet the water board's requirements. But it looks like we found outside funding right now for all the design, engineering, permitting, and there's a very good chance we'll find the funding outside the district for the construction. So that won't cost the district anything and saves us probably $1.5 million, $1.8 million that we were gonna spend on it. So we are doing what we can to reduce our costs and get financing from outside the district to cover some of our costs. Like I said, the restaurants, the approval to transfer ownership of those leases final approval was last night by the board. So that'll be moving fairly quickly and you'll see that. It'll be a different flavor. They'll still have crab pots and stuff and everything, but I'll wait for them to tell you everything they're gonna do. But we're looking forward to that and bringing back the reasons for people to come. And now that, the 300-foot level or the 2-hour drive out to get rockfish is lifting, Sunday night?
Saturday night.
Saturday night. Hopefully we'll get more people coming in. Bluefins here, hopefully we'll get more people in. And in the short term between now and October, I've been trying to get food trucks in the harbor so people can actually get something to eat and a cup of coffee. And it's very difficult to do that. People aren't interested in driving out to the coastside. I will tell you the new restaurants coming in, you will be able to get a hot cup of coffee, your latte, or whatever else you want at 6 a.m. if you want. So that'll be great. One of my biggest pet peeves of the harbor is I can't get a cup of coffee at Torque. Now we will be able to with the new owners coming in. So that's great news from my coffee habit. And we're equally as disgusted as everybody and disappointed with the fact that the harbor's empty right now. It's painful for us to watch, but we're doing what we can to correct that. So unless somebody else has something else to share with me or talk with me or stick around afterwards.
So I didn't hear anything on your list about what the harbor is going to do to go after disaster relief money to relieve the harbor so you can put some relief on the fishermen also.
Following up with David Goldenberg tomorrow on what we can do.
I got an email.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep. I think I've met David, haven't I?
There's also the lady I spoke with and
Thank you.
the county has to go to her.
Katrina? Is that Katrina up there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you got her name?
I don't, not here, but I can.
I've got the.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, if you got it.
all the stuff here
Yeah.
for
Is that Katrina?
We're here to run a harbor, but we're also here to to support everybody who uses the harbor. Commercial fishing, recreational, the tourists, people who sell off the boats to the people who buy off the boats. and the fish fires at the end of the pier. So if you have an idea or think I'm not doing the right thing, my phone's always open and my email's always open. You're welcome to call or send an email or drop by my office anytime you want, which is right across the hall. What's that?
You stay here.
Yeah.
All right.
The original GoPro conference room or break room, as this is the original GoPro office. So, and we're trying to bring more flavor into the boardroom by bringing in pictures of crab pots in the harbor and other things. So make it look better. And more professional for us and for you. So, any other questions or concerns, guys, that I can help you with? I will do my best to relay your message, but again, when this does go to before the board, we'll let you all know. We'll put it out that it's going, and I encourage every one of you to come to that board meeting and make a comment to the board, so they're aware, get to hear from you personally, as opposed to my writings. Your personal stories will be much more effective.
Thanks for coming tonight, everybody. Guys, that was really cool of you to take the time to come up here. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody online. Cap Smitty, thank you.